You're listening to Puma Podcast.
Hi, I'm Franco Luna Puma Podcast. You're listening to Teka Teka News. In this episode,
We express our sincerest apologies to our passengers for the disruptions and assure you that we are committed to resolving these challenges. We value the trust and confidence of our passengers and are committed to providing safe, affordable, and reliable flights.
we bring you the highlights from the Senate hearing on complaints against Cebu Pacific.
Pero, yung experience ko talaga, this year lang po, 2023 alone, we book around 6 bookings from Cebu Pacific only. And unfortunately, sa 6 na yon, lahat po na rebook or canceled and na-change yung flight namin. Pabalik na po kami dito sa Qatar. Pabalik na po kami ng work dito. Kasi yung flight ko, international flight, Manila-Doha, is 11 p.m. ng gabi. Nag-book po ako ng 3 p.m. na papuntang Maynila and ayun po, na-cancel, na-move nila po yung flight ko ng I think 11 ng gabi from Iloilo. Instead of 3 p.m. na i-move po nila ng 11 p.m. So hindi na talaga ako talaga mahabol yung flight ko na international. Yun po yung mga experiences ko po sa Cebu Pacific. And I hope po na sana sa hearing na ito na mahanapan talaga natin ng solusyon para at least kung hindi maiwasan, at least ma-lessen lang talaga greatly yung problem.
You just heard Rafael James Bartolome, an OFW based in Qatar. He was one of 4 resource persons invited to the recent Senate hearing on widespread passenger complaints about Cebu Pacific. Cebu Pacific is the largest airline in the Philippines, and it's also one of the most popular budget airlines in Asia. But in recent months, it's been plagued by a number of problems. Here's another testimony from a resource person who remained anonymous at the Senate hearing.
At that point, hindi po talaga namin alam kung anong nangyayari. So at around 12:20 a.m., that was June 5 na, we were advised to disembark from the plane and get further instructions from the ground crew kasi wala na daw, it's beyond the control of the flight crew. So between 12:50 to 2 a.m., the passengers were just stranded at the baggage collection area. Wala rin po sa ground crew could tell us what's going on, what will happen next, who is in charge.
That's right, there have been a lot of similar stories from passengers who were denied boarding because of overbooking. Ang masaklap pa, yung ibang passengers naman ay na-deny ang boarding even though they were already checked in and had boarding passes. Another problem Cebu Pacific's been facing is flight delays and cancellations. In the past few months, there have been a number of flights that have been delayed or cancelled due to technical problems, bad weather, and other factors. In some cases, though, passengers have been stranded at airports for hours or even days. In other cases, passengers have had to rebook their flights at the last minute, which caused them a great deal of inconvenience and money. The company said the issues were caused by 2 things. First, the engine crisis. Listen to Sander Lau, he's President and Chief Commercial Officer of Cebu Pacific Air.
As early as March, we began to feel the industry challenges and its effects from April onwards. This is when the engine and supply chain issues in the global aviation industry changed the dynamics altogether. Specifically, the global aviation industry has been impacted by Pratt & Whitney engine issues, which power the Airbus A321 and A320neo. The Pratt & Whitney engines are experiencing premature removal from service, and each engine restoration requires 220 days instead of the industry norm of 90 days.
Second, delays in Airbus aircraft deliveries.
Apart from the Pratt & Whitney engine issues, we have also encountered delays from Airbus, our aircraft manufacturer. We recognize that global supply chain issues are further worsening the situation and causing additional delays in aircraft deliveries. As a result, we have experienced delays ranging from anywhere between 2 to 5 months, whereas pre-COVID, These aircraft would normally arrive on time and ahead of schedule. These delivery delays necessitate changes to our flight schedules, including flight cancellations and equipment changes from larger to smaller aircraft, which may cause some passengers to be disrupted and cause the perception of overbooking.
But Senator Nancy Binay, who chairs the Tourism Committee and presided over the public hearing, said baka kaya maraming flight cancellations dahil nag-overbook ang mga airlines.
Pero kasi ED parang lumalabas ngayon, nagkaroon ng bagong modus eh. Kasi nakita nga nila na sa overbooking, malaki yung kailangan nilang i-provide dun sa passenger. So ang ginagawa nila ngayon, parang 2 days before you fly or 4 days before, sasabihan ka nila na canceled yung flight mo. Pero syempre kung nasa ibang bansa ka, paano, who will shoulder the cost of your hotel? Eh dun sa air passenger bill of rights, pag cancellation, napaka-minimal nung kailangan gawin ng airline. Ang kailangan lang nila, rebook, refund. Tapos bahala ka na sa buhay mo.
We're pausing for a quick break now. When we return, we hear what CAB had to say about overbooking flights. So one term that's been thrown around lately is overbooking. It's actually a relatively standard industry practice where airlines sell more tickets than there are seats on a flight to be able to fill a plane. Basically, this is done in the hopes that some passengers will cancel their flights, leaving the airline with empty seats. But when too many passengers show up for a flight, some of them will inevitably be denied boarding. At dito sa Pilipinas, legal ang Unli overbooking.
Ngayon po, ang umiiral na patakaran sa ating batas ay ito pong APBR, Air Passenger Bill of Rights, na ito po ay issued in 2012. Ang current provision po dyan, it does not set a limit to the overbooking. The rationale po is like this. Yung wala siyang limit ay ang paniwala po, there is an effective counterweight to discourage overbooking.
The last limit in 2012 was 10% overbooking, but when the law was passed, the limit was removed.
Ang nakalagay po sa ating section 10.1 ng Air Passenger Bill of Rights, while it is an accepted practice of an air carrier to overbook, any expense, consequence, or inconvenience caused to affected passengers must be borne by the air carrier. At isa pong unique feature nitong ating provision na ito ay yung pong compensation, kasi po ang procedure, number one, ang isa pong pasahero has the right to be checked in. Wala pong karapatan ang check-in counter na mag-refuse ng check-in except for kung walang documentation and other valid reasons.
Under the law, airlines are supposed to look for people to volunteer to take a bump in their scheduled flight and offer them a hefty financial amount in return. Now, the lack of overbooking limits isn't the only thing this spate of complaints with SEBPAC is laying bare. If you sift through the mountain of complaints on social media, you'll probably see it too. Bukod sa mga nakanselan, marami ring complaints dun sa website nila, which forced extra rebooking fees on more than a few customers. Here's what Cebu Pacific had to say about it at the Senate hearing.
We are aware of this issue, and in fact, it is a user experience design issue. I think there is a part of the flow where if a passenger clicks proceed, it commits the changes even before the passenger pays. So we recognize that, no? And we're taking that feedback as well from yourself and from our passengers.
That was Cebu Pacific Chief Marketing and Customer Experience Officer Candice Iog. She says the airline is working on rolling out an enhancement to their website interface around July. Some passengers also accidentally canceled their flights as they were checking the prices of rebooking on the website, all because of a glitch. Cebu Pacific has also been criticized for its customer service. Passengers have complained about long wait times on the phone, rude customer service representatives, and the lack of transparency on flight changes. Professor Antonio Contreras, isang political science professor mula sa De La Salle University, had this to say.
How do you react to it? Wala man lang offer ng warmth, wala man lang offer ng human intervention, walang offer ng pagkain. Buti na lang, pag may pera ka na pwede madagdagan pa ng ibang araw yung hotel mo. Paano kung wala ka ng pera? Paano kung OFW ka at talagang kailangan ka na sa trabaho? So yun lamang po, alam ko matagal na po tayong nag-overbook, may standard size sa industry. Alam ko matagal na rin tayong nagka-cancel ng mga flights at ang iba dyan dahil sa kaligtasan natin. Pero sana naman huwag natin gawing systematic na parang pinaplano na parang parte na ng strategiya ng industriya, na para kumita. Hindi po yun maganda. We are not giving the world our best. Pag ganun.
The Department of Tourism says it's optimistic that these issues can still be solved. In a statement, it wrote, quote, "The hitches that the air transport riding public currently experience is something that can be resolved, given that the practices of our domestic airline industry are largely in unison with those of international standards." As for Cebu Pacific, ito daw ang kanilang mga steps moving forward.
Number 1, we have already reduced our flight schedules until the third quarter. Number 2, acquiring additional aircraft for greater resilience. We are increasing our spare coverage from 3 to 4 starting this June and up to 6 by the end of the year. And we will also enhance our customer care and recovery policy in order to make sure we are able to communicate to guests the right information and to give them the right options.
And that was today's episode of Teka Teka News. Again, I'm Franco Luna. This episode was edited by Pidoy Blanco. If you like this episode, share it with a friend or two. And of course, don't forget to follow Teka Teka News and Puma Podcast on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube. Thanks for listening.